It would be nice if I could get you to write something that would change the world, but it's not fair for me to set the bar that high. What I'm trying to get you to write here is something that will change you. Because you're not good enough. What? Right now, you're not good enough. And that's okay. Because no one's good enough. Like, are you guys satisfied where you're at on everything? No, you shouldn't be. So anyone, that's what pisses me off, right? I'm not good enough still. I'm not satisfied where I'm at. Like, it's so dumb to say, like, you're good just the way you are. No, you're not. You're not good just the way you are. Keep improving. So, yeah, that was it. I didn't need to read that. You still have a pulse. And so until you don't have a pulse, there you go. Keep improving, getting better, because you have to be so much better than you are right now that you can actually lead other people to be better. And there are so many people that are way shittier than you. Remember standards thing here. Like, oh, well, I'm better than Hitler. I'm better than that drug addict down the street. I'm better than that dude who beats his wife. Well, are those our standards? We don't want those as our standards. We should have them a little bit higher. Okay, so if you haven't figured it out, I've been trying to show you guys how the world is broken. The world's broken here, right? This is what you get. You were born into it. What you need to think about, though, before you decide how to fix it, is why it's broken. That's my purpose behind all this stuff for you guys. If it's our infrastructure, can changing the laws really fix it? And if it's ideological, how do you convince someone of the moral convictions you feel they should live by? That becomes really difficult. It takes a lot. So many people want to force, and I think that's what happens with this side, right? They want to force morals. Like, when you want to force your morals on someone, that becomes really, really problematic. You have to have other criteria then. Like, well, so long as it doesn't hurt another person, but that criteria, well, who's another person, right? You could still say, well, a baby's a person, or a fetus could still be a person. It depends on how you define that criteria. But still, to try and force something on another person. Yeah, that whole idea of separation between church and state, which was, ironically argued with Mormons, which were the people who were most behind the whole stopping same-sex marriage. First, it's like separation between church and state, saying, hey, don't get involved in our polygamy, because that was a thing. They switch it around, and the largest vote against same-sex marriage that came from Utah and all the Mormons, like, they put tons of money behind fighting it. I just thought that was pretty funny. But that's the thing. Does that hurt another person? Like, think about your criteria. Even if you are religious, think about, well, do you want to force your religion on someone? Because is that going to make them convert?
Yeah. That's kind of what Ben Shapiro's entire thing.
Yeah.
Like, why you gotta be so mean, dude? Like, are you, you're not gonna win anybody over by, like, screaming at them and calling them idiots. If you were, like, more kind, maybe they'll be more willing to hear you out and not threaten to bring you back.
I was going to save that, the whole Ben Shapiro thing.
Good try. You have to bifurcate it. Did she deserve the honor? Probably not. Is she brave? Of course she's brave. All those years invested as this sports legend. To come out transgender is horribly difficult. It is the most difficult thing you can do. I've been overseas. I've flown helicopter missions, surveillance missions. I've been shot, stabbed. Being brave is being yourself. And being transgender is about the bravest thing you can do. Did she deserve the award?
65?
Yes.
Why are we mainstreaming delusion?
It's not delusion.
Why would you call it delusion?
Because Kaitlyn Jenner, I'll call him Kaitlyn Jenner.
No,
because
it's
that's
her. You're not being polite to the pronouns. Because disrespectful.
Okay, forget about the disrespect. Facts don't care about your feelings. It turns out that every chromosome, every cell in Kaitlyn Jenner's body is male, with the exception of some of his sperm cells. It turns out that his brain structure is male. It turns out that he still has all of his male appendages. How he feels on the inside is irrelevant to the question of his biological sex.
I don't agree with that. I'm not on that train. I'm not on that train. She wants to be called she. I'm going to call her she. I just have a problem with the message and the messenger.
So, well, I'm going to do two things. I want to reiterate what Zoe said, which is the bifurcation of the courage to come forward after a lifetime as a male and a certain kind of a male, versus did she deserve this award? Listen, the awards, what are award ceremonies except an opportunity to catch some eyes?
Especially the ESPN, well done. See, they did.
You guys know what this was about? We kind of didn't really talk about the context.
It's about Kaitlyn Jenner being...
She got an award for Woman of the Year. That was 2015. So, how you like that? Now, think as a feminist really quick. Think as a feminist. Who gets an award? Someone who started as a man gets an award for being a woman?
The best woman or men.
The best, like, so think about that now, right? Zoey here argues the bravest thing you can do, and Zoey's seen combat, by the way. The bravest thing you can do is come out as trans, is what Zoey says. Now, think about all of the women in the U.S., all of them. Do you think that Kaitlyn Jenner deserved that award for Woman of the Year in 2015?
Probably not. I don't know.
Pretty sure someone's mother in this room could have probably gotten that award and deserved it more. Like what?
Yeah, wait. All succeeded in being rich.
Congratulations, you're rich. By the way, when that all happened, when Kaitlyn Jenner became a woman, how did that go? What were the reactions of everyone in the world, or everyone in the U.S. that you heard on social media and stuff? Shock.
Some people weren't surprised.
Right. I think there were a lot of rumors support.
Right? There was a lot of support. There was a lot of encouragement. It was like good for her. Number one. What was the second thing? I'd bang her. And hey, congratulations, you are now a woman. Because that is the epitome of what guys do to women, isn't it? Like the very most important thing is just like bang her or not bang her.
Once you're identified, you're in. That's all.
Yeah, so it's like women could then be like, yeah, welcome to the gender. But do you think that's fair? Like how long had Kaitlyn Jenner actually been a woman to be able to like, oh, now you know what it's like to be a woman? Do you really know what it's like? At all, even?
Just marketing, who cares? Who even decides it?
And that's what he said, right? He said it's just a whole catching eyes thing and making awareness and stuff, but it does give a pretty big slap in the face to women, I would think. I mean, we're not talking, now remember, like you can separate this and be like, I am still pro-trans, everything, and also a feminist, and I'm insulted by this, right? I think you can be both there. Yeah, so you see the context here, right? You've got this guy, he's like supposed to be the middle, and then he's a centrist, and then you've got Ben Shapiro who's like far right.
What are his arguments?
So his argument is, he said his problem is with the message and the messenger. So the whole idea being, should she have won this award? And I think he's more on the feminist card there, at least, saying, that's a bad way to do it. You're sending a bad message. By giving ground to someone, are you taking away value in another person? Can a man just change over and now be a woman and be able to claim all the things that women have had to deal with and struggle through and just be like, oh, I know what that's like? Bullshit, you know what that's like. I mean, you could know what some suffering is like in a different way, but not the same way, right? Then Ben Shapiro, he's got all kinds of arguments.
Why did they have to next to each other? Like,
I know, you should have spaced it out, put this guy in between. He could have like refereed it.
Other sides of the couch. Why would you put the guy who hates trans people next to the trans person?
Yeah, but does he hate trans people?
I mean,
He just doesn't respect
not
them.
like outwardly, not that he would admit it, but like his conduct towards them is very hostile.
It's definitely hostile. However, is it because he's been met with hostility? And does that justify it? Because then we're getting another philosophy, which is eye for an eye. And just because someone's hostile towards you, does that mean that you should be hostile back? Does that even win the battle? You're not going to win anything that way. Most of the time, if you're kind and someone's mean to you and other people see that and you're still kind to them, you've won. most of the time.
Or you're in an abusive relationship, in which case that's an L.
Yeah, it's all about context here, isn't it? So the reason why I at least give more credit to Ben Shapiro, even though he still sounds like a dick, is because I know what Milo sounds like. And Milo, he has no reason behind anything he's saying other than to piss people off, right? He doesn't have anything else. This guy at least has a belief, right? He has conviction over something that he truly stands by, and it's not just to rile people up, it's to defend what he actually believes and is trying to reason about. Whereas the other dude's just trying to get a rise out of people. So in this case, he could definitely do it better. Not just here in this setting, but in all of his debates. I think he could do it better. But he makes arguments over why should I change facts? So what was called gender dysphoria, right? Which we just call trans now, is you believe or you feel like you are not the gender that you were born. And so in order to deal with this, you change the definition of gender because you still have the chromosomes. This is his argument, right? You still have those chromosomes, so how can you actually, you're telling everyone else they have to change their definitions to suit what you want or how you feel, but that doesn't change reality. That's his argument. And then you see the whole back and forth. Dr. Drew tries to direct Zoe into the argument that's strongest for her, which in our claim of fact essay, I think we were talking about the hypothalamus scans, right? That they look the same. So he's like, remember the brain scans.
But in terms of the science behind gender dysphoria, you're very familiar with that, Zoe.
Very familiar.
It's not about the chromosome. Excuse me, the chromosomes within our nuclei.
We both know chromosomes don't necessarily mean you're male or female.
Gender.
With gender
identity.
See, he even has to correct her on that. So that's weird, right? Because Dr. Drew's trying to take her side, but he's also got things that he can't compromise on as a doctor.
Go ahead. No, so
especially, but even so, you have a thing like Klinefelter's syndrome. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you actually like to discuss the genetics or no?
Well, no,
what
no.
are your genetics, sir?
Zoe, I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
No, I know.
I think that you could see it happen in Zoe's head too, where she was going to make an argument about Klinefelter's and how there's, well, what happens when you get an extra chromosome of X, where you're XXY. That could be an argument. There are arguments there. But then she stops and she's just like, I'm just going to break this little boy right now, right? This is kind of like what it looks like. Bad way to have a communication, right? Did he just try to get a rise? Yeah, it wasn't the best exchange.
You don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you like to discuss the genetics or no?
Well, no,
what
no.
are your genetics?
Zoe, I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
No, I know. Well, but wait. To be fair, but to be fair, you're actually being kind of rude. And that's not fair.
I'm sorry, it's not rude to say that someone who is biologically.
Okay, so Zoe here transitioned from male to female, could definitely murder him, little Jewish boy, crush him. She served. She's had stab wounds and stuff like that.
She's a Navy SEAL.
She's hardcore. Zoe straight up threatens him. We talking true threat here? Oh, it's true threat. She even kept pursuing him after this. Everyone's cool with it, by the way, that happened. She gets pissed off at him because he says something that, although it's not nice the way he says it, it is a valid argument. She gets pissed off and wants to choke a bitch. Yeah.
I feel like if he would have been the one to say that he wanted to choke her, everybody would have lined up.
Oh, yeah. So to what extent are we saying something else is okay? We're saying what she did was okay and what he did was not okay. And don't you think we're doing something bad here? My question for you, though, about this whole thing is gender identity inequality the same or different from racial inequality? For both issues, what does equality look like for this group? And does giving this group equality hinder someone else's reasonable claim to their own equality? Is racial inequality the same thing as gender identity inequality? Because they've run on the same platform a bit. Is it the same?
I don't think so. I think one is more like straight up subjective and more social aspect of it, which is the gender identity.
Mm-hmm.
While racial inequality is also like, they're both based off like social like things, you know, from people like kind of suppressing them kind of thing.
Yeah.
But racial, I think, is more based on like an actual outward thing in terms of genetics, and gender identity is more in terms of like how that person perceives themselves to be.
Yeah. What were you going to say about that? This is really good.
Whether the argument is true or false, you could argue that a choice is being made for gender identity, whereas you don't see people being trans black or trans white, right?
Yeah.
As of yet.
Well, there are some Key and Peele sketches on it that are like hilarious, but that's the thing. You said it right there. You can't choose it. And then, Edris, you said it's an outward thing. You can think whatever you want in your head, but you can't change what you look like on the outside. And what is the first thing you think of someone, or the first way you describe someone? Oh, he's the Asian one. He's the black guy in the video. What's the easiest thing to see from like across a football field? You cannot change that about you. Even if you identify as another gender, if you don't feel like dealing with it that day, hoodie up, right? You don't have to actually deal with it in the sense of deal with anyone's reactions or ways they look at you, or crossing the street to get away from you because it's late at night and you're walking past them and they're racially profiling you. You get what I'm saying? And then what happens when you put up gender identity inequality against feminism, and how women have been controlled or subservient for like all of written human history? And then Kaitlyn Jenner somehow getting the award for that. It was already hard enough to be a woman. Now men can be women like that? It shouldn't be that easy, but then also it just gets more complicated. I'm not saying one is wrong. I'm not saying the whole trans thing is wrong because of that, but it does complicate it a little bit more for other people. And like I said way earlier in class, not today, but like a month or two ago, that some of the biggest opponents of the trans movement are actually feminists, female feminists, not like just me saying I'm a feminist, like I know anything about what it is to be a woman. I know what a period is. Yeah. I had a sister. One time I had to buy her tampons. No, it's nothing.